Let's begin with your earliest influences. I mean, what are the first memories that you have that relate you to acting in cinema?
Well, I should start with my family background, I suppose, because there was great love of acting in our family. My father used to act in amateur plays. My grandfather was a patron of histrionics. There was also an atmosphere of playmaking and acting in the town we lived. It's about 70 miles from Calcutta. This is Krishnagar, the place from where the famous playwright Dijendralal Rai hails. And being the town of Dil Rai, there was, even in as early as the earlier part of this century, there were a few groups in that town who used to stage plays regularly, which we were aware of as children. But even before that, in our house, because my father liked acting and recitation, so he encouraged us to participate in those things, and we used to stage plays in the house with a makeshift stage built on a kind of a platform in which we call chowki, on which we used to sleep on. We used to take there and put on curtains made out of my mother's saris and stage plays for, and we had parents and some of their friends as audience. That's how it all started. And then when I started going to school older, say in class 5, which means when I was, say, 10 years old, I started taking interest in the dramas that were being staged occasionally. Occasionally means maybe twice in a year during the prize distribution ceremony or during the closing ceremony of the year ending. And I remember one particular play that was an English language play about the Sleeping Princess, the famous story for the children, where I took part and somehow was appreciated and was awarded a medal for doing that role. That play we rehearsed, and during rehearsals I remember some very interesting moments. There was the principal in our school, Miss MacArthur. She was being assisted by someone who came from England and was a theatre actor. He was a guest of Miss MacArthur, and Miss MacArthur asked him to coach us for this play. And I remember one particular incident when this gentleman was telling me to sort of put my hand forward during one particular dialogue, and he was not being able to communicate it to me because of the language difficulties. And then he said, "What do you say when you ask for some rice?" And I said, "Amay ekটু চাল দাও," in Bengali. And he said, "You say that in Bengali in mind, but say the dialogue in English and put your hand forward like that." So it all started like that. Then we moved out of that town, and my father took a transferable job. We moved from one place to another, and everywhere I went, this attraction for appearing in front of people and acting grew on and on. Another incident I remember in very early, that my grandfather was an advocate, and his clients used to come from distant parts of that district. And one such, they were generally being given a room to stay on for the night and all that. A very wealthy gentleman came for one such case to be done in that court with my grandfather as the advocate. He was going out to the court, and he said that I was supposed to look after his comfort and everything. So he said, look, I'm leaving my suitcase behind, but there is plenty money inside. Will you please see that it is kept? And went out. I thought that that money may not be safe there because I would be going out. Somebody can take it away. So I kept it on my, on myself and in my pocket. And then something flashed in my mind. I went to the next door neighbor and declared to them that I'm going away to Bombay, and I have stolen this money from this suitcase, and I'm going away this afternoon. And they were very, very upset and tried to convince me that this is wrong, this is entirely bad. And after about 1 hour of play acting, and then I declared, no, I was fooling around, this has nothing to do. I mean, which probably as a hindsight, I find that I enjoyed play acting even in real life situations, and I wanted to appear it as natural, so-called, as possible.
Yeah, you were talking about how you prepared, how he prepared you for...
Yeah, and I did some homework too. I took this, my theatrical experience in mind and made a whole subtext of the screenplay in the form of a diary, as if Apu was writing that diary whenever he is not seen on the screen. And he did not reject it, neither discouraged it. He, in fact, encouraged it and even provoked me to think farther. That way, he was very, very helpful. And, one thing is certain, that he used to, during shooting, just before the shooting commenced, he used to read out the scene. And anyone intelligent enough or, sincere enough to listen to that properly would get all the clues about what's going to happen and how to act out the scene.
Do you remember the first scene that you sort of, the first time you faced the camera professionally, apart from the screen test?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I remember. That was, you remember that scene where Apu is looking for some job. He's unemployed at that time and has gone to a factory where small bottles are being leveled and packed and things like that. Someone says that go and see if you can cope with that job, and he goes inside and is almost scared goes in and is very scared. And that was the first scene I appeared before the camera, and the very first take was all right, okay. In fact, Mr. Ray was also very happy. There were other things that he did which are not usually done in our shooting process, that he took elaborate rehearsals for some scenes. For instance, that famous scene where Apu and his friend Pulu are coming back from the theatre after they had a hearty meal in the evening and went to the theatre and coming back very happy, and Apu is speaking about his the novel that he is writing, or autobiographical novel. Very beautiful, one of the most memorable scenes that I have seen in cinema. For that scene, he planned to take the whole scene in one shot, in a trolley shot. That's why he told us that I want to rehearse it very thoroughly so that we may not find it difficult in the location. So we went to a studio floor and rehearsed it for quite some hours, 4 or 5 hours, myself and the actor playing Pulu. After that, we went to the location one day, actual location, before the shooting, and rehearsed the sort of cut into another close-up shot in a trolley, which was done in a dark studio floor. And that also was an education for me, because I also learned that to imagine is the greatest quality for an actor, and particularly for a film actor, where you may have to speak to, yeah. I don't know. This is a pure accident, I suppose, because, and I don't think I resemble Tagore physiognomically, no. But with beards on and with the longish hair in Apu and maybe some later also in some roles, I may be projecting a Tagorean image. That's about all. I don't really agree that I resemble Tagore.
Of course, in later on in your career, you played different kind of roles which were not Tagorian. I mean, in Arone Dinratri, for instance, you played a very urban, brash young man, or one can use the word. How did you feel that change that was coming into your own, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, as an actor or as an artist, you would always like to keep pace with time. So this Arone Dinratri was a reflection of our time. That, I mean, the writer, Shunil, was a contemporary of mine. We used to read in the same college. And they were bringing in a new era in Bengali prose writing. They were closely associated with the hungry generation and, well, the brashness or the daring to disregard the older principles was in us too. We were not as Tagorian as we are thought to be. So I very eagerly grabbed that opportunity to portray a section of our generation in that film. That's how I looked at it.
You know, and again in the Feluda series, you know, it was again it was much more light. Did you find that? Did you enjoy doing that? I mean, you know, there was an intensity which was there in Charulata, intensity which was there in Devi and all your characters, whereas the Feluda character was more normal.
You know, a normal human being.
Normal human being. How did you sort of get into
well,
that?
In Feluda, really, that many people said, how did you prepare for Feluda? Not that I particularly prepared myself for Feluda in any way, because it appeared to be, as you said, quite a light job that way. Except that I planned very consciously to project a thinking man in Feluda. Because apart from his lightness, his easy manners and sort of very casual way of approaching